Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about hand saws. And a handsaw is used to cut wood. Now before you pick a handsaw, you have to understand where you're going to cut that piece of wood. So if I'm going to cut with the grain, that means the line's going this way. I need to use a certain saw. If I'm going to cut against the grain, I'm going across the grain here, I need to use a different kind of saw. And today we're going to show you the different ones that you can use. Now, you are going to only choose two kinds of saws in my class, either a rip saw or a crosscut. So the very first thing, and this is a rule, general rule is this, is that if you get a piece of wood and we want to cut it with the line, with the grain, we use a rip saw. Now, all saws will cut, no matter what, but some are better than others. If I'm going to go against the grain, this way here, I will use a crosscut. All right, now, you're going to find that, first of all, when you get a saw, and I'm just going to bring it to you to show you, that this saw is made out of steel. Here is a piece of steel. Now, here you can see that if I show it to you this way, it looks really, really straight and rigid. And then on the bottom you have what we call teeth, and they're offset. So they take this piece of metal like this, and they actually cut into it all the way through, and then they alternate the teeth left, right, which gives you this zigzag pattern here. It looks like what they do is they punch on the other side or they cut it. One teeth goes left, one goes right, one goes left, one goes right, opposite each other, and that is called the set, S-E-T. Now, when you make the set, it has a specific angle, and that is the angle that is going to be useful for us when we cut it, to point it at a different angle, such as this, 45, 60, and so forth. But usually when you look at a saw to tell whether it is a rip or crosscut you're going to find that, first of all, if you measure the individual sets of teeth, if there are maybe like 6 to 8 per every 1 inch, that's going to be a rip saw. And anything more than that will be a crosscut. So looking at this one here, this one is actually a little finer. Okay, this one actually has like maybe 10 or 12 for every 1 inch. So you can see that happening. But if I put them both side by side, you can see that they look something like this. Okay, where the bottom one is a rip saw and the top is a crosscut. Now, all saws will cut. No matter what, they will cut, yes. So if I pick a rip saw and I want to cross-cut it, will it work? The answer is yes. But if I use a cross-cut to rip it, will it work? The answer is yes. But one will do better than the other, and that's the idea. So let me just show you, for instance, watch. So if I take this piece of wood, I'm going to cross-cut it, because the grain goes this way right here. The first thing you need to do is you need to put into the vise. And you put it into the vise. You're going to see that, first of all, that because we have the right saw here, this is the crosscut saw, and the crosscut saw, as you cut it, you'll cut it at about 45. You actually will pull it back like this, pull it back slightly, and then you go forward. Now, you hold it about maybe a 45-degree angle, and this will make the cut right. Really does a nice job. It'll just cut it with very little splinter. But if I use the wrong saw, this is the rip saw, all right, will it cut? The answer is yes. But what happens is, let me show you, is you will tend to shear. Okay, and if I take that to show you, you can see that in the back it will splinter, just like that. Okay, which is bad. All right, so remember, both saws will cut, but the correct one is a crosscut, which will not tear it out as much. So if I want to cut with a crosscut saw, and I want to cut this piece of wood all the way out, all the way through, which is the correct saw, I need to just slowly cut it, hold your hand on top. Don't hold your wood like this, because a lot of times most students, they ride right over their hand. That's dangerous. Okay, hold it right here by the shoulder. Then you're going to go back and forth. get to the very end of your cut, slow down. Okay, so you don't chip it. All right, and this way you'll have a nice piece of wood where the bottom does not blow out. All right, now that's a crosscut saw. Now, what if we want to rip it this way? I want to cut it down this way. Well, can I use a crosscut saw? The answer is yes, you can. But what happens is, and I'm going to show you that in a minute, is this is what's going to happen on your saw. So this is not the correct saw, but it will cut. So I'm going to cut this right down. Pull it back first because you want to start the kerf, and that's the groove that the saw blade makes. That's called the kerf. And you want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so with 10 shots, that's how far I got. I got about this far. All right, you can see it. Now I'm going to use the correct saw, which is the rip saw. Now the rip saw looks like this, and when you cut it, first of all, make the kerf, make the little groove. Okay, you're going to pull it back to get it started. You make a little groove. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now that's just 10 strokes, and you can see how much further the correct saw actually gave you. Okay, so I'm going to try to finish this one out for you, and you can see that when you cut with the correct saw, it's actually easier. Now, of course, you should oil it, you could lubricate it, you could wax it on, you could put wax on it to make it a little bit better, but you just got to take your time. Slow down a little bit near the end because you could actually crack it and come right through, and there's your cut. There is your your rip saw. Now, somewhere along the line, you're going to get some other kinds of saws that you see. All right, and I'm going to show you this one. If I want to cross cut, there is actually a finer saw. There we go. Make sure I get the right camera. Okay, this saw here is called a back saw. So the most accurate saw I have is this one here. It's a crosscut saw, and it's called a back saw. And a back saw has a rigid back. It has this piece of metal on top, unlike this one here, which tends to flex too much. This one here is nice and straight. Now that'll keep it from flexing so much. So if I want to make a really straight cut, and just to show you how this would work, I'm just going to draw it for you here. Go over top, over here so I can follow the lines. So if I want to remove that, and I want a really, really accurate cut, I would do the same thing. Now this one is about maybe 14 to 16 teeth per inch. It's very, very smoothly. You have to hold it kind of straight. And if I cut any more, it will go all the way through. And you can see that right there. Cuts very, very straight all the way through. Now, you're going to find also that we have premium types of saws. The saws that I like are called Japanese saws because of the fact that they are actually sharper. These are called Japanese saws. You're going to find that these will, in fact, be really, really super sharp. They're hard and sharpened. The steel is actually better on these, but the difference between these and the Western style saws are that instead of being a push motion, it is actually a pull motion. You pull it towards you. So you're going to find that, first of all, that these make very little. They're very super thin. You can see that here. If I just show you, they're very, very thin, very, very smooth. So if I wanted to make a cut, I'd pull it towards me, which gives you more accuracy. And because they're very thin, they're going to make a very small curve or groove. Okay, so this one here is a back saw. This one here is another type of back saw that I have. Okay, I'm going to make another cut for you. Pull it, hold it to your hand. Again, these are hardened steel. And then we have a tiny little one, a really super small one. And when you look at it, and when I show you what it looks like, you can see how really thin the kerf is. Okay, now let's compare this to the cross cut of a Western saw. So if I take this one here, okay, here is the back saw next to that. Now notice that it splinters a lot. Then you have this one here, which is the last cross cut. And as you can see, the difference of those types of saws. All right, the first one is the Japanese, second one Japanese, third one Japanese, and the fourth one is your back saw, and then the last one is your regular cross cut. All right, and you can see the difference when you cut with them. One will shear, while the Japanese ones are very smooth, and even on this side, very little blowout. That's why you would buy something of that high quality. Okay. All right, we'll see you guys soon. Take care.